physical for about 10 years.
Yeah.
So I was lifting a lot. Like I don't look like a very muscular guy, but honestly, I can lift a ton, right?
Some of the strongest people don't look that strong. I was just talking about that today with somebody. I was at the gym, humble brag, and talking about this guy that I used to know at this place that I used to work out in, and he's like this small guy. He was like 18 years old. He was like up to here on me. He weighed like 135 pounds, like soaking wet. And like I watched the guy back squat like 400 pounds. Like he looks like this skinny little kid, and he's just like this beast. Like he's just putting plates on and plates on and plates on, and it's like,
stop.
Could you at least make it look hard? You know, like man, like you don't have to be big to be strong. You know.
I know that. I trust me. I do know. Although if you look really close with everybody, they kind of do give it away. There's even though like you may not be the most defined muscle, the fact that you can actually see muscle is usually a dead giveaway that maybe, just maybe.
Yeah, it's like if it's big enough that it's kind of poking through, you're like, yeah, okay, that guy's.
Yeah, you know, and even the wiry guys, like if you look at them, like they're I mean, they're like, wow, these guys put together pretty good.
Scrappy, lean, shredded. Yeah.
How you doing, man? It's been a long
I'm good.
time.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's kind of. The world is different than the last time we met, eh?
Oh God, yeah.
The last time we met was here in Vancouver. We had a coffee. It was a nice day.
It was great.
Everyone was healthy.
Yeah, you know, it was nice. Vancouver. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I'm gonna ever live back there again. But I did enjoy that experience.
Yeah.
It's a neat city. Like honestly, it's a really neat city. I think I like visiting it more than living there. I think that's kind of where I'm at with it. It's just like I don't mind visiting it. It's easily one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. And I honestly feel like, especially that time, it was right place, wrong time. Unfortunately, it was just with the way everything kind of worked out. It was just like
I mean, like it's kind of like in any way you slice or dice it, it's like it's a tough city to break into. Like I know it's like tough to meet people. Like the cost of living is stupid. You know, I mean, it's like a tough city to kind of get roots in. You know.
Well, roommates in Vancouver is hard. Like that's a weird. Like that's the part that's really weird. So, I mean, this was the first time it's not the only time I've ever done this now, but it's the first time I ever lived with anybody that I really didn't know them very well.
Yeah, it's always that roll of the dice.
Yeah, and we never talked. Like, I would expect, like this is just me naming me. I don't necessarily need to be close friends. Like, that doesn't matter one way or the other. But what matters, like, hi.
Yeah,
like hi. Like it was just really strange that
have a conversation. Yeah.
Well, I didn't have a conversation with the guy until I left. It was funny until I was actually leaving. It was because it's like he offered, and again, totally grateful to him. Like, I mean, he didn't have to say yes, and honestly, small shout out to Ellen Michelle for kind of making that happen to some degree. Yeah. But at the same token, when I was there, it was a strange. It's like, I don't really know you. Hi, how you doing? Good.
It's like he was playing it cool so that you'd like him, and then you're like leaving. He's like, oh no, I played it too cool, and now we got to have a conversation. Oh.
Well, I actually just wanted to have one. It's what I do, right? I want to know someone.
Yeah.
And just we don't have to be friends. That's not, but I want to at least get, hey, I had a conversation with you while I lived there. I mean, that might seem a strange thing.
Yeah. So, like my experience sort of moving to Vancouver. So I moved here in 2001, 2002 or something like that. So I've been here for a while. And like it took a long time to kind of make friends. And it's kind of weird. Like, they say that about Vancouver. And what I found is like people are decent, like they're polite, like you talk to them and they'll talk you back. And like if you invite them over to your place, they'll be happy to come and they'll be friendly and you'll have a nice night. But it's like then it's like, hey, it'd be nice if you invited me to your place now, or it'd be nice if you invited me out with your friends now. And then like that doesn't, like like that doesn't happen. Like they kind of have their closed groups. Yeah, it's tough to break into. It took years for it took years.
Yeah, well, you were great to me. Colleen Anderson was great to me. It was the other thing too. It's the only like even here, I did have some traction with some of the Vancouver's art scene, but not the writing community. Which was also a bit of a shell shock there too, because I figured and I can't say they were all like Tanya Lyle was really cool to interview. I had a blast with her. Right. I had some blast with some of the other people I met through pulp literature. I got to talk to Matt Hughes because I was in Vancouver, which is I'll always cherish that. But at the same token, it's just like cool thing about Calgary. Hey, you want to go have a coffee? Yeah. You want to do an interview? Sure. Okay. Done.
Calgary's a friendly. I grew up in Calgary. Calgary's a friendly town.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Like I actually don't know any writers in Vancouver, which is say, hey, any Vancouver writers, if you'd like to, meet another Vancouver writer, like say hello. Say hello to me. I'm happy. I love going out for coffee and meeting people, although you can't do that these days.
Well, you can't do that right now. I mean, you can have them come to your house. Like, can you still do that there?
I don't think so. I think we're still pretty heavily locked down here. Like the reason why I say I don't think so is because we haven't, and so it's like don't even.
No, it's fair. So like I said, for me, I think my last impression of Vancouver was the last week. I've said this a few times. Last week I was there. Yeah. So downtown Vancouver is an interesting, like during regular, it's an interesting thing because there's so many. The homeless community there's so many characters, and they all are there. Yeah, like, right. It was weird not seeing them there the last week I was there because when COVID happened, like literally, I would have to go through downtown Vancouver to go to work every day, right? Yeah. So I literally saw downtown Vancouver shutter right from Monday to Friday. By the time my last day there, it was like I watched downtown just completely just gone. It was like
you feel like you're in the movie Quiet Earth or something like that. You like wake up and you walk out and like all the cars are empty on the streets. You're like, where is everybody? Am I the last one here? Like
actually Thursday, like literally on Thursday. So they have a great crepe. They had a great crepe place downtown. I don't know if it's still there. I have no idea what the heck happened to all the restaurants and stuff because Vancouver rent, like you said, is a very, very tough thing. I don't know how merciful Vancouver was to everything down there. But there was a couple cool, really cool crepe restaurants, and I remember this Monday on the way to work. I got myself a crepe. Tuesday was closed, and it was just shuttered. Wednesday, then the Jugo Juice. I attempted to get my protein shake kind of combo right before I went to work. Yep. By Wednesday was gone. So I had to go to another Jugo Juice that was still open up farther into downtown. It was just such a thing. Like every time I went through downtown Vancouver, it was like even coming home, sometimes the same day. Like what was there when I started was gone by the time I got home, and it was like, this is the wildest thing I've ever.
I know, it's weird. It's like you're immortal and like the world is kind of like changing and it's like fast paced to you, but you're like, what? Is this happening so fast? Yeah.
Yeah. No, it did. Like it was freakish. Like it was like, I mean, I could have stayed. Like I honestly could have stayed there if I wanted to, but I wanted to quit my job. I went out there to quit my job and get into the movie business. So while I was out there, and I wanted to try some stuff in that regard. And when I couldn't do that, I was like, well,
movie industry just like shut down. Yeah.
Like literally about a month before I was going to give my notice to shut down. It's like, oh no.
I know. Like this is like so like there are some businesses that are just like so brutally hit by this thing, like restaurants. Restaurants are suffering. So like, even though they're open but like nobody's going, like there's not a lot of people that are going to restaurants or are comfortable with it. Movie theaters must just be getting slaughtered, like there's some businesses that must just be getting, or they are just getting like brutalized by this, and you're like, how long is this going to last?
Well, the movie theaters might be done for good. Like I actually thought about this because, even if so, I actually think there is. So here's my thing. I think drive-in theaters right now would make a killing because honestly, right, it'd be perfect. You go to like a giant screen, have someone go by with like popcorn, like cotton, like go make it an old
roller skates, chewing gum.
That'd be amazing. That would be amazing, right?
It's funny because it's like if like drive-in movies were like just like they had like 2 breaths left in them before they were dead, right? It's like if you can just hold on long enough, like whatever industry you're in, if you can just hold on long enough, like it'll come right back around again. Like
it does. But I mean, it does. Like look at radio. Like radio was dead 10 years ago, and now podcasts have made radio like big thing like, all over again. All it is it's the same medium it always was. Now it's just in like a much broader format because television doesn't translate to the same degree.
So just hold on to your bell bottoms. Just a few more years, they're gonna come back, and
exactly,
gonna be all right.
But I do think for the movie, I do think if somebody came up with a bold enough drive-in, because probably the other problem going to a movie theater, I saw a couple of what they would try to do at a few movie theaters, and I was just like, that's not the experience you go to when you go to a movie theater. You go to a movie theater for 3 reasons. You're bringing a girl with you so you can make out somewhere in a corner. Yeah, totally. Right. Number one. Number two, you want the obnoxious experience of taking a popcorn and spent $10 too much, looking at this giant screen bigger than like 10 times your head, blaring down on you. It's like the greatest like experience ever. And you can't really and you like doing that ideally with friends or family.
And I thought like I would hear the Cineplex theaters, they had the VIP rooms. I was like like that's at the time that was kind of like the future that they were kind of it's kind of like this nice big cushy seats. You get all the fancy food in front of you. It's like
it's a full experience.
It's like an event. It's like a night.
That's right.
All watching movies.
I mean, the only thing it doesn't serve is booze, right?
I think for like the rated R ones, for the rated, if you're an adult, I think they're worse. I don't know. Maybe I'm just wishful
theaters,
thinking.
yes, like theaters, like live theaters, you get booze there, but
I was like sneaking into booze. Maybe that was it. Pouring it in my pop. I don't have a problem. I can stop anytime I want.
That's right. I can stop anytime I want, officer. You can't tell me what to do. But I mean, it's one of those things where I look at it like I think because you can't do that experience and even at a movie theater right now, you're not going to go. It's not the same. Right. So I'm looking at all the different things you can do in this current environment. I think honestly, the one thing you can oddly do, and this is going to sound really like left field, is go to a dance club because you can literally, because if you put a dancer in like a glass cage, right? You could actually. I'm serious. I mean, you could do
like a sneeze guard.
yeah. It wouldn't feel out of place, right? It wouldn't feel that out of place.
Yeah.
You couldn't like a concert, one song maybe, but I mean, it would depend on who's performing it, and I totally think that like you couldn't do that. Like concerts, you go to concerts to jump up and down, spread energy out there. Whether you're singing a love song or whether you're like me, you go into the mosh pit and you like kind of thrash or like whatever the case may be. Oh yeah, I love that shit. I really do. But that's what you go to a concert for. So you can't do that. You might be able to do a comedy show. I mean, a comedy show might work, but I mean, when you sit there and think about it, it's like, so you got cage fighting. You got
everybody's in their own cage.
Yeah, that's right. You got cage fighting. You got strippers.
Knees guard.
Yeah, you got because again you can use the glass cage motif actually works there, and that's it. Like that is it, and it's like holy crap.
Yeah. So some things Or, you're like, it would be nice if they kept this up after this is all over too. Like, so in Vancouver, some gyms are open, but they have to. It's all spaced out, right? And so you have this like huge space that's like your space, and it's like this is actually a comfortable way to work out. Like I got this big space here, and nobody's in it, and it's like just me. And it's like comfortable. And same with like stores, it's all spread out. It's like fewer people in it. It's like this is actually kind of comfortable. Like not having like everybody kind of just mashed in around you. Be nice if we could kind of hold on to that after this is all through. A little bit of personal bubble space again.
Some of it, yes. Some of it, yes. Some of it not. So the thing this is going to sound like really, really lame, but the thing I actually realized is I realized maybe I should have done a long time ago. 7-Eleven now prepackages all like their donuts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like that because they had, it's like that should have been done the whole time.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like those little things you think about going back. It's like, okay, we could have done those things. It'll be interesting to see what stays and what goes. I think again, my own opinion, I think lockdowns come to an end one way or the other this year. I don't see them sticking. Yeah. Masks are another issue. I don't know whether they're going to stay or go at this point.
Like we're a lot more comfortable with it now, and so like that, probably won't be wearing them all the time, but we probably won't think it's weird if we see somebody walking down the street with a mask.
I agree with that one. Like actually even like in Vancouver when I was living there, was the other thing that was the first time I saw masks. Like as a regular thing. Yeah. It was before before the pandemic. Every once in a while, you'd see someone come down and they'd be wearing a mask, and you'd look at that and go. First time I saw that, and I saw that I think like early winter times, like, well,
it's like, are you robbing a bank? Is that what's happening here?
Well, no, because it actually had one of those. It was like one of those. It had like a graphic on it already. So it was playful, but it was like I've never seen that before. Now it's such a commonplace thing right now, but.
And I think it's like a lot of that was from Asia, and I think a lot of that sort of came about from the SARS, the SARS epidemic. Like Asia got hammered by SARS back in 2007, so they're all like, yeah, masks are a good thing. So they kind of, because we have such a high Asian population here, like it was always, you're kind of used to seeing it on because it was the Asians were like, yeah, this is smart, this is a smart thing to do, and I kind of think like that'll probably be like. I imagine that's what all of us will do now afterwards. Like, we won't wear them all the time, but it wouldn't be strange to see somebody wearing one, and
Yeah, no, I think there's going to be definitely a definitely at least a portion of people like first time I wore a mask was again my day job 10 years, like when I was working there for a little while because I tried it as when I was working. Yeah. I hated it. I still do. Like when I do work in it, it's like I absolutely like they're not comfortable at all when you work in them, right? So
you fog up your glasses.
For me, it just.
I guess you don't have that problem. I got that problem.
Yeah, that's true. But my problem is the moisture. Like what happens is because I'm doing physical stuff.
Yeah.
I never had moisture in my mouth like that before. So like when I'm doing that, it's like. That is so weird. I feel like I'm drooling because I'm not. Like it's just like it's like one of those. It was and like I said,
my skin is so supple now. I don't.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I hated them even back in the day because I found that it would like you're working up a good sweat and you're all of a sudden you're like your mouth's like what the hell is this? And the only difference was now I take it off, people freak out. So it's like okay, I can't take this off.
Yeah.
Fuck. Right, because I'm just stuck, right? So it's kind of one of those. It's a weird. It's. I'm not going to miss them when they're no longer mandatory. I'm not going to miss that. But no, I think you're right. Yeah, I do think you're right. I do think what's going to end up happening is there is going to be a portion of the population that feels safer with them.
Yep.
And I think that's going to be a regular like part of things. I mean, again, you say it yourself, like Asia did it first 10 years ago.
Yep.
And when I went to Vancouver, that's when I first saw it. Even before the pandemic. It's again, people should be able to do what they want. That's like,
Oh, yeah, I know, right?
yeah.
And it's an interest. So I was watching this movie this other day, and I can't remember what it was, but it was like made whatever, like 10 years ago. And there's a scene in this movie where like there's just this crowd of people. Like it's I don't know, it's like a graduation, university graduation. There's this crowd of people in like the courtyard of this university, and I had this. It was weird because I had this like weird visceral reaction. I'm like, oh my god, there's a crowd of people. You can't have a crowd of people. This like everybody's going to get sick, right? And so like yeah, like, it was like I hadn't consciously thought that I had an aversion to crowds, but like this whole experience with the pandemic is like I had this like natural aversion when I saw this crowd, and I'm like, oh, you guys can't do that. And I kind of wonder like once this is all through, how long is it going to take for us to kind of get used to having like a crowd of people together, on a patio, or a crowd of people together somewhere, It's like we're not used to seeing it. We've been kind of like averse to it for like a year now. And get used to that again.
I think like me won't be an issue. Like again, culturally speaking, Maltese, Italian, anyone like of that, like I'm not gonna lie to you. Like especially when it comes to family stuff, that stuff doesn't go away. It's that'll come back. I think relatively fast.
Yeah.
Right for that. I think this is where it will be interesting is people who are immunocompromised. It's going to be interesting to see how they react going forward because, like my own personal thing when this hit was this. Like I had to make a couple of decisions. One of them I made in Vancouver, and it was this. I was going. This was my last week there. During that week where everything was gradually becoming a ghost town. I didn't run into someone homeless on the way, like between buses, because during the pandemic, I had to go to a bus and 2 trains. So in between trains, downtown, right? So going from downtown Vancouver to Granville, on the way there, in between there, yep. I met a homeless guy who was asking for like a pen to write, and I didn't have one. I looked for one, couldn't find one, and then he was like, "Oh man, shit." It's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, man." It's like, "Thanks." And he just puts his fists like this, right? Like this, and this is right. So I had to make a decision right then and there. It's like, okay, I could. Well,
Go on for the hug.
Well, I decided. I decided. You know what? Like, and then this was how I made peace with this. Like, I'm taking a risk. Like, this was me going to work. I'm taking a risk going outside. Every time I go outside, I'm taking a risk. And the reality of the situation is, I mean, no matter what kind of precautions I take or don't take, there's always going to be a risk that I'm going to catch something from someone, no matter what I do. Yeah. So I basically made a decision right then and there that I'm just going to try to be as humane as I know how to be with people. Yeah. And I'll live with the consequences one way or the other. And that was my decision, and I made it then and there. Yeah. So for me, I look at it like it's put my mind at ease a lot. And I don't have kids, so that's a different. So again, people with families, it might be a different answer than mine. But mine was like, I no matter what, I'm not going to be cruel, and that's it. And that's how I've treated this. Like if you feel really uncomfortable with everything because you don't know what's happening, you got a family to worry about, I get it. If you're someone that's just like, screw it, I get that too. Like I've tried not to judge. It's been a very interesting.
It's so hard not to judge, but but people.
I mean, I've been very. It's been interesting to watch how people have reacted to each other during this time too.
Yeah, it's like you see the best in people and you see the worst in people. It's like, I suppose that's times like this, they do that. They bring out the best and they bring out the worst, and you see you see it all. Like,
sometimes the same person too. Like that's the one. Yeah, that's actually the incredible part. Like I will see some of the most amazing charitable things.
Yeah.
And then in the next breath, I'll see the cruelest things at the same time. It's like,
dude,
wow. But I mean, it's this time, So
yeah. And I mean, everybody's like everybody's stressed out here. Everybody. I've always kind of felt like this is like this is like we're all like this is happening to all of us. Like it doesn't impact all of us equally, but it impacts all of us in some way, shape, or form, right?
Yeah.
And our society, at least in Canada here, like we've never experienced anything like this before in generations. So like this is a big thing, and we don't know what we're doing, and it ain't going, and we're gonna screw it up. Like we're gonna screw up, and we're gonna try our best, and we're gonna screw up and stuff like that. And it's kind of like, you know what, like I remember this speech, this quote. You know, it was from, you know, I don't know. I was at a talk somewhere, and somebody sort of talked about this quote, and he was talking about, you know, like a naval officer, and his father was an admiral in the Navy, and the admiral was talking to his son who had just entered the Navy. And his son is like beaking off about this, you know, we got this new captain. Our old captain was awesome, but we got this new captain. This new captain doesn't know what he's doing. He's screwing up. He's making all these mistakes. He's making all these mistakes, and you know, the father, the admiral, just kind of said like, hey, you know what? A good crew doesn't let their captain fail. Boom, and that was it, right? Like a good crew doesn't let their captain fail. And I kind of feel like that applies a lot to you know, to what we're in now. Like we don't know. Nobody knows. Our leaders don't know what, like. They don't know any better than anybody else, like how to fix this.
That's very apparent.
Yeah, it is very apparent.
Yeah, that's very apparent.
It's like you know, if you see a gap, you got to step up and fill the gap. Like we're all, like this is happening to all of us. Like we're all trying to make the best of it. If you see a gap, like something's falling through the cracks, and you can do something, then, you know, you stand up and you do something about it, because we're, you know, a good crew doesn't let their captain fail, right? And I kind of feel like, I say, this is new, it's big, and this is kind of something, you know, I think we need to approach this with that spirit. We're all trying our best, and we all have different resources and different strengths, and, you know, somebody falls down, you kind of carry their weight. When you fall down, somebody carries your weight. Like that's the only way we're going to get through this with in one piece, you know. I don't know.
That's good. See, for me, here's been my kind of struggle with this whole thing, and like as far as the leadership aspect of it goes.
Yeah.
It became very apparent to me somewhere along the way that our leaders have no integrity. And when
Christmas 2020 is it?
well, no, actually, for me, it was when the turning point for me was when they let kids go back to school. Because that to me, like, and we're going to talk about it because I know you teach, like, how university must have been like during the fall. Must have been a weird experience.
Yeah.
But I like, for me, that was it. Like that to me, and it still does make zero sense. Like I almost would want to make a will. I'm almost willing to make this bet that the second wave occurred primarily because we did. I almost would make that bet.
Yeah.
But at the same token, like once I realized that, it's like like I was worrying about integrity early on when I was seeing how people were reacting, people like fighting over the mask and stuff like that. That was a big thing that concerned me. But when I saw that, it kind of crystallized that to me in a very real way. So when I look at the fact that people are fighting each other, I blame leadership. I don't actually blame whatever side people are on. The fact of the matter is, if our leadership had been more consistent the whole way through it, there wouldn't, like, honestly, whatever way they chose to go. I'm not trying to say I would have been very cool with the idea that they ignored the pandemic altogether, but at the same token, it would have at least been more consistent than what has been done. I think, and the other thing too, not every essential worker can stay home, right? A lot of them are going out, and I think the thing that's actually the other thing that's really drumming up hostility right now is this. I can go out and work, but I can't go out and see my friends. And there's it's a very Orwellian concept. And no matter how you justify it, it's very hypocritical. And I think that is rankling on, like, it does rankle on me a little bit. But I know it rankles on other people as well. And the reason being, I think, is because again, it's not consistent. Like, if the virus is so serious, why am I working? If the virus is so serious, why is anybody working? To be perfectly honest with you, right? Or kids going to school, or my personal fare. I don't know about BC. This is an Ontario thing. I go into a restaurant. You must wear your mask. I take one step. I sit down. You can take your mask off.
Yeah.
does the virus just travel in straight lines? Like
yeah,
like it's
they're wash.
Yeah. So I mean, so for me,
Yeah.
I can forgive a mistake. I think the hardest thing for me has been to accept the fact that I care very much about. I realize how much I care about integrity and ethics in terms of being consistent, and I recognize that. Frankly, that's the one thing that's been missing, at least in North America, the entire time. So it's like,
yeah,
I've had to kind of come to terms with some things as a result of it.
And I mean, like, I see what you mean as well. And I mean, I also think, like you see different things all over the place. Like, you know, it's like, so yeah, I think you can see leadership in some areas where they're like maybe picking favorite industries. Mm-hmm. I think also at some point you also just kind of have to say, like, you know, they're you know like they're just you know, they don't know either. They're just kind of hoping for the best too. And
yeah, some of that you can tell is just we don't have a good idea right now, and we're just throwing anything at the wall. On the other hand, some of it, I'm sorry, just the restaurant thing, just like step one side, I'm like, really? Like this is real? And I mean, Alberta had the casino thing for a minute there, and you were like, what in the hell is it? Like that? You're looking at that and you're going, huh? Okay, right. And Quebec's got a curfew thing right now. You can walk your dog. I saw this on the blog. You can go out and walk your dog at night, but that's
you can't get COVID from your dog.
Yeah.
The only thing you'll get from your dog is intestinal worms, so that's a different thing.
Sexy. But I mean, that's so yeah, like Canada's weird. United States is weirder, right? Like I said, that's the thing I kind of had to that's the thing I've made my peace with. Is like, you know, integrity really is a unifying thing, and I realize how much of a unifying thing it is, and it's a shame, but it is what it is. And now we just go, like, in the meantime, I've been reading a lot more books.
Yeah. What have I been? Yeah, it's been so I teach at a university usually, and so we've gone all online, and I found like I'm the busy, like doing that shift has made me the busiest that I've been in a long, like I wish I had more time for books and writing. I'm all just trying to make websites and trying to work on my websites.
You guys are actually, I think it's interesting that I think in some ways a lot of the more academic stuff is requiring a lot more work and not less, right?
It's true. Yeah.
See, here's the thing. If I was your union, like, this is the thing. I keep this in mind from negotiation, because honestly, you guys were underpaid to begin with. Like, honestly, you guys were underpaid to begin with.
You want to work for a union?
I would bite. Like, I'm an asshole when it comes to negotiations sometimes, right? So I mean, right? I could literally like honestly, you're doing like twice, maybe 3 times your work right now. You should be getting twice, 3 times your pay. That's how I look at it, right? You know, but it's also weird too. Here's the flip. Okay, so here's an interesting. I'm going to ask you a question. You might not be able to answer this. If you can't answer this because this is your job and a conflict of interest, I completely understand. Sure. Because I've been struggling. Like, I've been debating about taking just some courses to partially pass the time. Here's the question I have.
Yeah.
Right. It's not because of the teaching. It's because of the access.
Yeah.
Right. Should I be paying full price tuition right now?
So that's a fun question. Yeah, so that raises a lot of stuff. That's
why it's like, if you can't answer it, I understand. Like, I do understand that.
I'm totally happy to talk about it. And so and like, honest, like, the answer is, it kind of depends on what. Like, so with business courses, so like I teach in the business, so I teach in the business faculty, but once upon a time I used to be a scientist as well. So in the business faculty, like in business, like, there's no labs or anything like that, right? Like, in the business class, the biggest expense is really the professor, right? Because you don't have weird equipment, you don't have machines, you don't have materials, you don't have to do labs and stuff like that. The only expense you have is a guy who's at the front of the class waving his arms and stuff like that, right? So the biggest expense for like a business class is the teacher, and then an online class, in a well-run online class. So there have been a lot of people who have been complaining about professors who are doing a bad job teaching online, and that's probably very valid. But a good online teacher is still, active and is still doing stuff. So from a business class, you're still paying, the same kind of expense. And so you're like, well, you're the majority of the, instead of having the physical infrastructure, you now have the IT infrastructure. Your main cost is the professor, and he's still there. So like for some classes, like a business class, you're like, well, you can make the argument that the cost should be the same. But then there's other classes which are like hands-on classes where you have to like do a lab, or you have to like, it's like you're doing trades, and you actually have to do physical stuff in a place. And when that's not happening, then it's like, well, okay, the thing you need to do to get your education is being like compromised, because you're not able to do the labs, you're not able to do the hands-on skill work development and stuff like that, right? And so there, you're like, well, okay, there I might be losing out, like there my education is being compromised a little bit, and so maybe I should be paying full price. But we don't have we kind of have like every program costs the same tuition, even though the cost base of each program is different, right? Like the cost base of a science program is a lot higher than the cost base of a business program.
Makes sense. With lab time, room space, things of that nature, yeah. and right?
And so what we do in universities is we charge the same tuition throughout. So we make more money on the business classes, and that subsidizes, we lose money on the science classes, but the more money we make here subsidizes the science class. That's kind of because we have like this one flat tuition no matter what program you're in. We're kind of in a situation now where with online classes, like with certain classes, you could probably argue that it's fair to pay the same tuition because it's the same work effort to get you the thing. The only difference is instead of physical architecture, we have IT architecture, and with the IT architecture, we need a whole suite of people that we have to pay to maintain that. But then, there's these other programs where it's like physical hands-on, where you're not able to do that, and you're losing that. And so I could see.
So I'm going to ask a very interesting one, a second question then. Again, same thing. If you can't answer it, I totally understand. How important is the teacher experience in the classroom? Because after everything you just went through, I mean, what you just described there, it does lead to that question. How important, like, do you miss it? Has it been better, or has it been worse?
Yeah. So you find, like the teacher does have a role in a classroom, right? Like it's not just, like a classroom is different than just reading a textbook. Like if you just wanted, if you just wanted the knowledge, you could just read the textbook and now you have the knowledge, right? The classroom is a learning community, right? And you can learn things. You can learn different things in a learning community that you are not able to learn just, by sitting around reading a textbook or reading, something on the internet, right? So that, and it's, the teacher creates that learning community and kind of creates, you can create mentorish kind of relationships with students and stuff like that, that allows for some, if it works well, this all depends if you have a good teacher or not, but you can learn deeper things, in a classroom environment with a teacher than you might be able to on your own. Now, a lot of that also depends sort of on the student and where they are in life, right? Like if you are, if you've already gotten a lot of education and you've got a lot of experience in life and stuff like that, you can, you know how, like if you've learned how to learn, like, if you know how to learn, if you're independently driven, you can learn a lot just on your own. But there's something, and I found this myself as well. Like I've taken PhD work. I've done it all, and I can teach myself, but there's some things you get out of a learning community that you just can't do on your own, right? Like that class, that community is important, and I see this a lot. I see this a lot with my students. A lot of students do not thrive in an online environment. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong, there are some that love it. There's some that like, this is for me, like they're just wired this way and they take off like a rocket ship. But a lot of students do not thrive in an online environment, and it is really, really challenging to create a community in an online environment. Like in a classroom, it's physical, and it kind of like our brains are wired to, when we're actually physically present with people, we just form communities naturally, and it's really difficult to do that and emulate that in an online environment in a way that can be productive. Like it can be done, but it's really hard, or it's harder. It's harder. It's a different skill. And like, yeah, I see that. I see a good chunk of my students that struggle and suffer, and I'm like more so than when we're actually physically in the class, So for whatever that's worth.
Okay.
A lot of it,
so basically, I mean, I'm saying this in a nice way.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of tooting your own horn a little is like the fact that I think honestly, this is the role of the teacher. Like a good teacher, it's not so much about the knowledge you pass on, although that is part of it.
Yeah.
I had this conversation with John Maven, and I said honestly, what a teacher does. Why do we go to writing conferences? And the answer to that is because we are seeking permission to some degree from our peers who have done better or are doing something in the industry to go for our own goals. I feel like what a teacher's actual job is to you are there to give that student permission to go for whatever they choose to go for, and your part in helping them get there, however that big or small that may be, whether you are a compulsory course for a diploma or whether maybe it's someone's passion. I mean, it's very different, a different kind of student either way. But either way, your job as a teacher, more than the knowledge itself, is to facilitate that growth in that student to go whatever they go. And I think that, and a great teacher can be nearly as influential as a good parent, nearly. So
a good coach, or a good role model of some kind or another, right? A coaching, mentorish kind of
because everybody on some level wants to be believed in by somebody or something, and so I feel that's the role a lot of teachers actually that's the role a lot of good teachers make. They're really worth their salt, because a student can pick up really fast if a teacher cares. Right, and they can also pick up fast when a teacher really doesn't. And I mean, there are some teachers I've had that I understood them. Pardon me, I've had a long day. I understood them on a business level. I had my grade 12 teacher was very adamant about not being available for anything after a certain time of the day, and I understood it, because again, you're only paid to be there for a certain amount of day. But I also realized too, a lot of great teachers, it's not about, I mean, you want to make a living doing what you're doing. If you were really about the money, you wouldn't have become a teacher. You would have done something. You would have done something else if it was about the money. So, I mean, so I kind of look at it like, the really best ones show that they care, and the student picks up on it, and the really bad ones show that they don't, and the student picks up on it. And I've had my mix of good and bad. So I mean,
everybody has.
Yeah, and we just know. And I mean, it's so. I mean, so that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I think it's important.
Yeah.
I'm really torn. Because for me, I have considered taking some courses in broadcasting. Yeah. The only thing I really kind of kick myself in is I don't know. I don't know if I had the patience to survive the first year, because it'd be like, I know all this already, all of this, right?
But you still got to go through the hoop. Yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes I don't know if there's a secret to that, other than just
grinning and bearing it, right? Like I said, I just don't know if I have the patience in me for that. But the other thing I also considered too is broadcasting. I can do a lot of stuff here, obviously, when we're doing this great conversation here. Yeah. But the stuff I really need to learn, I can't do it here. I have to do it in a studio of some kind, which makes this kind of awkward for me right now. It's like, do I do it, or do I just wait?
So I don't know what it's like with broadcasting, but some of the trends in post-secondary research is you see these trends moving away from like big major degrees and moving towards things like certifications, micro certifications,
Mhm.
nano certifications. And so for somebody like you who has a lot of sort of just like you figured this out on your own, and you don't necessarily want to sit through like a first year class where you're like, oh, I know all this kind of stuff already, with a bunch of 18-year-olds
The 18-year-olds I don't mind. It's not that part actually could be kind of fun.
yeah.
That's right, but it's just the patience. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What I might like, yeah, what I would recommend, is think like first like think about what you want, think about what you need, and like and instead of going off and getting like a whole big honking degree or diploma or something like that, like do you need it? Like, do you need one? And if you're just like there's just some things I want to know how to do. Like if I knew how to do this better, my life would be better, or I'd be better, and stuff like that. And then just end up taking like individual courses. If they have like sometimes they'll have like little certificate programs or just little one-off courses that you can kind of take instead of taking like a whole diploma thing. You can just kind of, okay, what do I need? What am I interested in? Okay, that. Okay, I'm going to take that, and it may not build to anything that you can stick on your resume, but if you're if you need a designation on your resume to get a job, then you're like, okay, this is I'm choosing to do this, so I'm just gonna buckle through this first year. But if you don't need it to look on your resume to get a job, if you're just, this would make my my current job easier or better or something like that, then yeah, just look for one-off programs or like one-off little certificate things, small things. I say they call them like nano credentialing or like micro credentialing nowadays. It's just, I'd say, like little one-off courses. I don't know if they have that in broadcasting. It seems like the kind of thing that might exist in broadcasting.
I know for me, for freelancing, that if I were to keep as I keep going down this path, I gotta learn SEO better. Like, I understand it a lot more than I did when I started, but yeah. Google's weird. We're just gonna leave it at like Google is weird. The algorithm concept of Google is incredibly weird, and how they do it, it's just like, oh God, kill me. Like, just because it changes all the time.
Yeah, it's like a different kind of weird every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't ask why. After a while, you just stop asking, like, why is this the word? Like, I don't understand. Like, right.
It's all machine algorithms. They like that the humans running the company probably don't even understand. Like,
actually, yeah, I think the evil robot's already won. I mean, I'm chasing algorithms down in search engine optimization, and I think I've already kind of lost this battle on some levels. It's like, damn it, I'm doing what the machine wants me to do. And it's like, God.
My phone tells me to get up in the morning, then it tells me that I have to do this thing by 10, then it tells me this is how I get there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. You just look at it and go, why am I doing this? Why is my life, like, seriously, it's one of those things you just look at and you recognize, like, your life's like this weird, I mentioned this actually in an interview last night. I almost feel like, I actually feel like we're in right now. We're in a really weird Tower of Babel. Like, that's what we're in a really weird one, because here's the difference. It's not about language. It's not about language. It's about that light bulb behind you. Literally, the pandemic would be over tomorrow if all the lights went out, because no one would know what the heck would happen, and we just have to get on with our lives. And literally, it's how we're all connected right now. It's literally click, 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 click. It's like, we got like this really fragile tower keeping all of us together. It's like, it's almost like, so it's not quite the house made out of like, what was the first Little Pig's house made out of? Was it sticks?
Oh, yeah, straw. Sticks.
No, there was straw. It's not quite straw. It's sticks. It's not
bricks, though. It's definitely not bricks.
Yeah, it's definitely not bricks. Right? But it's not quite straw either. It's like the stick house. Our boat going through this weird time is like a stick house. Like, you're just afraid that a big bad wolf might come around and blow it down.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like that's what I think of like in this weird little time is like we're in this weird Tower of Babel thing, and I'm not quite sure like what's like literally it's like last time it was like if you go by the story the languages all got scrambled. This time it's like we're even more fragile. Someone just went like this, click.
Yeah. And it's almost like, with the Tower of Babel, it was like your languages all get scrambled. But it's kind of like our social fabric is getting scrambled with this with the technology that we have now, like with social media and all this connection. Like we're connected, but we're not connected necessarily the way that we're like designed to be connected. And so we're like hyper connected, but we're all kind of alone and isolated. And
well, it's kind of like this, like. I enjoyed our coffees, and I would trade that over this any day. And the reason why, right? and the reason why is this: I love talking to you. We get along. Yeah. We're having just a friendly conversation about life, the universe, and everything right now. And we're laughing somewhat. We're crying a little bit on the inside too, right? But yeah. But at the same token, I know that like there is a little distance, even in spite of the fact that we are getting along. There's this little bit of distance here, and there is and as a friend, I would trade a lot to actually have that. I think that's what makes this time so cruel.
I know,
yeah, right, because we are in one way still really, really close. It's not like I remember when I was a kid. I remember when my parents divorced. They had a really bad, nasty falling out, and we didn't see like my mom and dad, and as a result, my sister. We didn't see each other for a long time, and it was a very interesting kind of torture because you knew they were still alive. It wasn't like they died.
Yeah.
You just the access wasn't there, and it was like so close and yet so far at the same time, and it was.
I know. Yeah.
Right. I just realized like that's what this reminds me of.
And it kind of feels like that with everyone now, right?
Yeah. I mean, I love the fact that I'm like you said, I'm in Windsor right now with like you said, Dad's here and it's great. And I mean my grandmother is here too, and that's great. But for all that, there are still things like I just don't have access to, and I miss, and yeah.
And it's like so we used to we'd love having people over for we'd cook them, my wife and I would cook them a nice supper and have people over, and like you have like Zoom dinners now, which is like it's like this, which is okay, but it's not like the same thing,
No.
Right? Sit back on a couch and chew the shit for a little while. I love going out for coffees. Like, hey, let's go out for a coffee. That's like my go-to thing. Let's go out for a coffee and chew the shit for an hour or two. But it's isolating. So my wife works in healthcare, so she gets to go out every day and she gets to actually interact with people like as much as she ever did. And I'm like, I teach. I teach online classes, and we have like online workshops. And it's funny, I'll be here. Like this is me working. Like I'll just be here talking to the computer, and like I'll go upstairs and Joel will be like, "Hey, so how was your class?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Like I talked to my computer monitor for like 2 hours, and then I left, and so I think I don't know. I have no idea how it was. Right? It is isolating, even though you can kind of talk and see each other. It's not the same thing talking to a computer monitor than it is having like an actual person right there,
Yeah. So hey, promise when this is over, because it'll be over at some point, I'll head back to. I will like one of the places I'm thinking about going to next is Kelowna. Like it's one of the places.
Where?
Kelowna.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I'm thinking about it because one, it's got a cool community there. 2, I enjoyed the town. 3, with everything going on in Alberta right now, I don't see myself living in Calgary anytime soon. It's just one of those things.
They got some things to work out for a little while, I think. Yeah.
Well,
you're in Windsor right now?
Yeah.
like my wife has family in Windsor, so like every 5 years, every few years, we end up out that way, oddly enough. So so
That's
there might be
cool.
some more copies in our future in Windsor, Kelowna.
Windsor, Kelowna, Vancouver. So whenever you come, whenever you're in town, if I'm here,
Yep.
Like coffee or a beer, either or, whichever you choose. Let's make it happen, because that'd be kind of fun. Because honestly, man, I think the biggest lesson I realized, I learned this a long time ago. It's not the big things; it's the little things that really make life worth living. And you know what? Friendship is a great thing, right? So
exactly, and like it's like those little things are like easy to not even notice when they're there, but when they're gone, you're like, oh yeah, that feel that, you know.
Yeah. So
it's not like a big crushing pain. It's kind of like just this. It's just like a weight kind of thing. Like you think of like all the things that future human or past human civilizations had to live with. Like this ain't bad, but it's still it's kind of like just it's like a weight. I don't know. It's like just feels like just like a little bit of a weight.
It doesn't feel natural because we're meant to be connected to each other, and you like they were just meant for that. And
viruses know that.
Yes, the viruses do know that.
Yeah,
it's the only time we don't, and even I really even can't even say that. It just, for some people it's easier than others. So then we'll leave it at that one alone, I think. But there's a couple things left to do.
Yeah.
So you had a guy voice your book.
I had this guy voice my book for Duotero. Yeah.
Yeah. So how was it? How was that guy? Was he good?
His name rhymes with his name rhymes with Washua. I know.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
No, that was awesome. That was fantastic. I think it was I think it was a learning experience for all of us.
Yes, but, it still is.
I know, right? Like, oh, this is so. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I'm really happy that you were. Interested in kind of giving it a shot, and have been really game to kind of go up the learning curve as well. Along with, like, I think your learning curve was steeper than mine. My learning curve.
So actually, the biggest challenge was yours.
Yep.
Like, surprisingly, was not the Mandarin. The Mandarin was actually easy. Thank God for Dynasty Warriors video games. Otherwise, I would have been so screwed. Because I knew how to pronounce. I don't think I screwed up with any of the Mandarin when I actually did that. Right?
Yeah.
The Esperanto, man, was the J's screwed me up so hard.
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, it screwed me up so hard because there was a couple. I guessed on a couple of them with you because it was like, I hope he's happy with it, and you are. So it's like, yes, I did it.
I always find that funny. Like whenever I'm talking to somebody who's read the book. And they'll be like talking about a character, and I'm like, that's not how I pronounce the character's name in my head. But when I look at the name, I'm like, yeah, that's a legitimate pronunciation. It's funny,
yeah. I still Talia was my favorite on The Voice, by the way. She was so fun. She was
a bucket of fun to write as well.
Yeah. I'm not going to spoil. I'm not going to spoil it too much, but in my opinion, she was the heart of the book. Like, that's just my opinion on it. This is the only thing I'm going to say to you is just after I've read the book, and without spoiling it too much. She was
like she's not the main character of the book, but she's like, I kind of think of her like, you say she's the heart of the book. Like I kind of like when I was like I think like she is the heart of the main character, right? She's
his conscience. Like, honestly, she's his
conscience. She's his like moral center, his like emotional center. Like that's like she's the heart of the book. She's the heart of the main character whose POV we see the story through, right? Like she is, and she was like, it's like the main character is this like dour kind of guy, and is like so you get in that headspace for a while, and it's like, okay, Talia's just wherever. Let some fun.
I can't even talk about my favorite scene on the air because it spoils the book too much.
You have to tell me after.
No, it was. I'll tell you after when it's over.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it because it captured their relationship so perfectly.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God, that was perfect. And then you broke my heart, you bastard. But that's okay. That was good. That was good.
That's what a good writer does, right?
Yeah, no. You wrote a great book. I actually to be honest, to be very honest with you, I learned an awful lot. Like, I would not do that book. Like, I'm just being very honest with you. I would not do that book for that rate ever again because of just everything that was required. But I'm glad I went through that experience. It actually made me a better podcaster. And I don't love audiobooks, but the fact that I know that I can do one, right, and do a good one is actually. Oh, do you want to know the other thing that was really hard? They actually really hard about your book. Okay, so we got this one little problem. I'll take care of like this week.
Oh, yeah.
But it actually was the opposite. Like, so for those people wondering, Audible requires a certain degree of silence in certain parts. I thought I captured it. It for whatever reason it didn't. It's an easy fix, not a big deal. There were parts though. My room was too set. Dead space was a huge problem with the book. I had to learn how to deal with that.
Yeah.
Right. Because, so the other two things I learned. The closet is a beautiful place to actually voice the book. It's a great spot because it's
closed.
Yeah. No, it's mostly enclosed. You don't. So the dead space problem. So I went. So basically, I did it a page at a time in the room I sleep in because it's a relatively quiet spot in the house.
Yeah.
A little too quiet as it turned out because I had to do some fixes on it. So when I did some of the scenes again, I actually went into the closet. The beautiful thing about a closet, it has a built-in. It's almost like a built-in echo chamber, right? Because you have sound coming in and out, just enough that it's not dead space, but still, like as you say, it's nearly insulated enough, right? So it was just like I learned an awful lot about sound doing your book. Yeah. So
and I can figure, it's like the first one's always the hardest, but now you know all this. Like the next ones will be.
It'll be better and more expensive for everybody else too.
Exactly. Like now I know what now I know what now I know what the work effort actually is. That's always the thing. You like the first thing.
And I knew too that when I was doing your book that I was going to make mistakes with your book, and I did. I made some big ones, right? Ones that were completely my fault. It was just like, okay, that's not how you do that. Right. But I mean, that's the thing. Like you can't be afraid to go out there and try new things.
Oh, yeah. That's why when you were like, hey, this is what I'm thinking to do, and I was like, that's awesome. Like I've never published a book as an audiobook either, so I was like, I think it was a bigger challenge or bigger risk, bigger thing for you. But I know, like you gotta try new things. You gotta try new things, and then people got to give you a chance to try new things, right? Like that's.
Yeah, like that was like I greatly appreciate it. Like I actually, I might have to send you a little present as a thank you. Actually, now that I think about it, no, I mean because like so there's been a group of you guys that have been very supportive. I'm going to mention you, Jennifer Ron, Susie Vidori. This last year have been really supportive and just me trying just different stuff. So I just honestly, man, thank you, man, for everything you've done.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, I think you get a community of people who are like, hey, let's do new things and try stuff out and support each other. I mean, that's how you do awesome things. That's how you have fun in life. That's how you have fun in life.
So the other thing I did was really brand new. Have you seen any of my drawings?
I have on Instagram. This is like, so that is you're like, I'm done with podcasts and I'm going to become an artist now. Is that the plan?
No, I want to do comics, and so I don't know if you like I've done some like it's been the last like opening things for me. It's been really, really cool when you get people like that draw Batman for a living, actually draw Batman for a living, come on your show to draw with you. That's an incredibly cool. So I interviewed Elsa Guerra Garza. So her first animated project, like she was part of, was Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, wow.
So I had that opportunity. Mark Park from Game of Thrones was on the podcast. I have had so I mean I've had some like really cool. So Mog in particular pushed me, and this is the thing, right? I told her, it's like, I'm not sure I'm good enough to do the first like draw and bid. So I do a couple. So one of our mutual friends, I do a guest thing with her. So Mog gives me a no. It's like, you're out of excuses. You're in. Damn it. So anyway, so now my current art project is I'm going to be trying to draw probably Kano or Cabal tonight as I keep working on Katana. Yeah. I'm getting some like Copic marker, so I'll be playing with color a little bit later this month.
Fun.
But what I'm really interested in learning is storytelling, because one, actually, it's made my writing better. Like I almost like, that's actually why I might send you when this is over. This is like
trying to paint the scene. You're literally painting the scene.
Yeah. You know, like I guess the best advice I'll give any creative out there, even if you suck at it, try just different arts, because if nothing else, it gives you new like not maybe the literal languages like you used to do a tarot, but it does teach you new languages and how you communicate your art. Yeah. And it's really neat to have those things in your toolbox.
Because I could see, like, like when you're drawing, you like, it's like when you're writing, you just you kind of visualize it in your head, then you write it out there. But when you're drawing, you actually have to think about all the details. You have to think about the details because you got to draw them, right?
It's the same rhythm. Like when you get into like that zone where you're just creative, it's the same rhythm. It's actually. So, do you do any other arts besides writing? I mean, I honestly
not these days. You inspire me though. You inspire me to try something new. But yeah, not these days. But yeah, you're inspiring me to try something. I don't know what.
No, so here's my suggestion. Like when you're writing, like when you're going to write your next book, whenever you decide to do that, I'm sure you actually are right. Probably working on it now. Yeah. But that all said, like what I have found has been really interesting is, actually Tim suggested it. For another mutual friend named I don't know if it's a mutual friend, but a friend of mine named Tim Ryder was talking about working into the zone, and one of the things that I've started doing, like I'll take another discipline on like even podcasting or art, and I'll just get myself into like a zone, and then switch to my writing, like because it's once your head is in the space of flowing, right, and also because you're using different muscles kind of get into that flow. You know how sometimes when you get to like, you can, when you're writing, when you start, like you get into a good flow, but because you kind of like, you're using the same muscles, there's almost like a fatigue sometimes.
Yeah, like after about an hour, you're kind of like,
yeah. But if you go to another discipline, like a different discipline, it's almost the exact same flow, but you don't get the fatigue. Not to the same, like you still get a little fatigue because it is still a creative energy. But it's not the same because it's almost like you're using a different part of your brain. I actually think is so that again, cool. It's a suggestion. It might help you. It might not. It might blow up in your face. If it does, I'm sorry. But I mean,
I keep thinking like one of these days, I don't know, I'll like pick up the guitar or something like that. I used to play the violin when I was a kid. I'm just looking at my violin up on the shelf there, which hasn't been touched in like 30 years. But I don't know. So, no, you're inspiring me. I gotta try something.
Yeah, just say, hey, listen, man, this is. Look, here's the thing. Right now, there's nothing. You got nothing to lose trying something new, right? Yeah, exactly. I spent the last year doing that. It's all I've done in the last year is try new things. I'd like to think I'm a better person. Hopefully.
For sure.
Hopefully.
Tear your mind open. You see new things. See things different ways. For sure.
Yeah. So, do you know what's next for you? I mean, obviously, you got an audiobook by a certain somebody coming out soon. But beyond that, I mean, any new stories?
Yeah, so we got that audiobook coming out. I have another story that I finished last year that I want to publish. I want to get out this year. It's like time. It's like I like writing. And so I'm like writing and like, well, I actually have to put effort into like launching that other story that I have finished. And like, then that takes me away. But anyway, so yeah, I have another story. It's called Ashme's Song, which is finished, and I'll publish that this year. I'm working on a brand spanking new thing right now. I've got like 2 other books stuck in my head. So I got something new coming out this year. I got a bunch of things that I'm kind of like plowing through on the back burner, keeping moving ahead and stuff like that as well. So yeah, I'm keeping busy. I'm keeping stuff flowing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, the last thing to talk about, because when we were talking in person, you had just built a brand new course from scratch. Yeah. How did that go? I mean, obviously things kind of went screwy in terms of the world, but I imagine that, the course is still there, is it?
The course is still there. So yeah, we shifted online like in the last quarter of that course. So it was good. We ran it. It was good. We even though we shifted online to COVID. So I'm running it again this semester fully online. So that's one of the things, like I'm creating I'm still creating I'm on like week 8 out of 13, but the actual course is actually going live right now. So I'm kind of like creating as the course is going. Yeah, it's good. It's a course. It's based on my research, my PhD stuff on organizational wisdom. And you're like, that's like an oxymoron. How can you put those 2 words in the same sentence? But it looks at I'll just quickly here, when you look at the literature on wisdom, like what is wisdom? What does it mean to be wise? And how can you have a wise organization? When you look at the literature on wisdom across time and across cultures, you sort of see 3 themes appear that we can kind of build a discipline around. And that's the first theme is that values guide wise action. So the people we think of as wise are pursuing values that we think are important. And we can teach. The impact that values have. There are organizational values, so we can talk about the impact that values have in an organization. The second theme is that knowledge is required, but it's insufficient for wise action. So you need to know stuff because you need to know how to solve problems. But we usually rely on wisdom when we don't know what the right thing to do is, like when there's a pandemic, right? So we need knowledge, but it's not enough. We need to have this, this ability to be creative and to experiment and to sort of try new things and to work our way through that. And then the third theme is that wisdom is action oriented. So it's not knowing the right thing, it's actually doing the right thing. And so in order to make anything happen in a social system, you need to understand how power works. And so that's kind of the third theme, we know we have a lot of research. I don't know if we know, but we have a ton of research on how does power actually work? How do you exercise it, in social systems? And so, yeah, that course focuses on, organizational values. How do they impact behavior? Things like rationality. How do we make sense of the world? How do we make decisions? How do we make choices? And power. How does power work in an organization? How does it manifest? And then kind of the interaction of those 3 things. So we kind of have these 3 frameworks in this course. We teach elements around that. We show them how these things interact in like live systems. And we explore a lot of cases. I get the kids to actually do their own. I call it the big hairy problem, where in teams they kind of just pick a big hairy problem that's going on in the world, and they start trying to apply these concepts to try to see if they can. If not solve it, at least understand it better, make some progress towards solving whatever the big hairy problem is in their world. And yeah, no, I'm enjoying it. I hope they are too. I think they are. It's tough to tell online, but yeah, no, it's fun.
Yeah, that sounds really good. And you are teaching that where, good sir?
That is at Kwantlen Polytechnic University here in Vancouver, in the cozy town of Vancouver.
Yeah.
It's online right now. Because everything's online. But yeah. So it's going to be and good news for me, or for the course rather, is that it's actually like right now it's just an elective, but there's actually a couple of business programs that have made it a required course. So it's going to have a life, and other teachers are going to learn how to teach it, and other students are going to take it. So for those who are interested.
So you have educated the world and made it a better place.
Working on it.
Yeah, and beyond all that, so last question. So, what's your publisher company's name now? Because I know Duatero was originally under Bunderin, but Bunderin is no more, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I don't have any fancy names yet. So Bunderin Press, and right now everything's just under me. I don't have an. Right now it's all just So all the rights reverted to me. Everything's under me. So I don't have any fancy names for it. I'll have to come up with if you have any fancy names, if you have any suggestions for fancy names, I'll have to survey you.
So this is okay. So my thing on the name. So what was your favorite science fiction book as a kid?
Let me think here. There's like so many. Okay, it's like Slaughterhouse-5.
Ooh, okay.
I know it's gonna be tough.
That was a tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough one working to a name.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. I'm also a big fan of 1984. Anthem. Oh, that's another. I don't know. They're all the ones I like are like hard names to. Anthem.
Doublethink Productions. No.
Don't
do that. Don't do that because that'll cause a headache. But I mean.
1984 Doublethink. Yeah, I like that. There we go.
Yeah. Just go with. So like what I would do because you write some decently poetic epic hard sci-fi. Is what you do.
Oh, that's a good. I was like.
Poetic epic sci-fi because there was. There is this one that when you're talking about the Serpentine Mountains in that one scene, I love that line so many times. This is just they screwed me I literally I ended up. This is what I ended up doing. This is literally what I ended up doing. And this whole that's the only time I did this entire book. And everything else you said in there, I mean, if I screwed up, I was able to get it right second or third try. That line kicked my ass so hard. I ended up actually doing the whole chapter by itself. And then I went back, and I think it took like 20 takes. And it's like, oh my God. And I don't know.
What was the word? What was the line?
You were describing the mountain pass. Like I think it's Tiangji. The Tiangji
mountain.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. It was, there was this one thing, wait, you described it as serpentine. I almost have to go back and look at the line. But it had the right length. It was just long enough and had enough S's that every time I did it, I would screw up. It was like, and it would be in different spots too. It's like I get there, okay, you got the son of a bitch, and you got like I wish I.
It's easy to read, but when you actually have to say it,
yeah. Oh no, that one got me. That one got me so hard, but it was also one of the prettiest descriptions in the entire.
Oh, that's awesome.
The chapter I really enjoyed, ladies and gentlemen, doing in Duotero was unfortunately one of the saddest ones, which was oh man, he slipped my name. Jeebus. His mom.
Oh yeah.
That was heartbreaking.
I was like crying as I'm writing it too. I was like,
no, dude, that was.
Yeah.
That was that was such an amazing chapter, and it was I read it when I read it because that was when I decided how sad his voice would be. Like was that chapter because I recognized that from where like the first 8 chapters of that book, what he was there and what he became after that chapter was like. There was such a sadness to him after that. And it was like, okay, he's a sad dude, but he had stuff to live for. And then his mom, it's like, oh my God, dude, that was probably one of the most like for everything else that happened in that book.
Yeah.
That dude, you're a good character writer on top. Like it was a great science fiction. It reminded me of some of the stuff like Le Guin, Delaney, like it was like some pretty cool like so. There you go. Yeah, all right.
I'm happy to hear that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is maybe what you do is like look at some of those influences in your writing. Pick a really cool concept to just the homage, right? The homage, and suddenly you have your name of your company. Like I wouldn't say Earthsea Productions that the state of Ursula might be a little mad at you for that. But if you took a little homage to something in there, right?
Cool.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I've seen some pretty cool ones. Like so, I mean, and I actually thought of doing a little homage to Ray Bradbury with ultimately my podcast is just how people know me. So I just went with just Joshing Media, but
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got their thing, right? So, but yeah. So when you do make that decision, so how about this? Do you have an idea when your next book's coming out this year?
I'd like to get it out sort of springish. I'd like to get it out like it's ready. It's ready. It's edited. It's all good. It's just got to hit play. So
how about this summer when it my gut tells me it's going to be summer, but if you comes out spring, fine. My gut tells me it's going to be summer. Yeah, right. When you're ready to publish, would you like to come back?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, okay. Awesome. So we'll do that when you come back. All right. So, but in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, Do a Tarot, which is either written by Brad C. Anderson or narrated by yours truly in the audiobook. You can definitely pick those up. The audiobook will be released like pretty much, I'm hoping, probably within a couple weeks. But in the meantime, how can people find you, Brad?
You can find me. Website is BradAnderson2000.com. That's probably the best way to find me is website, BradAnderson2000.com. I'm also on Facebook, but if you find me on the website there, you'll get the links to all the other stuff there as well. So,
all right. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching or listening to this episode of Just Josh. And if you want to support this podcast, you can do so a couple different ways. You can subscribe to it either on any of my from the audio, any platform there you can find this podcast. Also, video. I have a YouTube channel, Josh Pintel-Resco. You can hit the subscribe button for notifications. Or if you want to watch it live, there's twitch.tv/JustJoshingPodcast. Follow me there. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning.